Hey friends, today let's read about what it would be like to be an astronaut and actually go into outer space. It might be a job that you might want to do one day. So let's read about astronauts and what they do. That's the name of this book, Astronauts and What They Do. Here we go. The Earth is the planet on which all humans live. We think the Earth is very big, but in space, it's just a small ball, a little bigger than the moon. At night, when you can't see the sun, you can really see space. It is black and quiet. In space, the sun, the moon, planets, and stars float around. Would you like to be able to fly into space? Let's see what it would be like first, and then you can decide. There are only a few people who are allowed to go into space. An astronaut goes into space to see what can be found there. To make the journey into space, he or she needs a special spacesuit. Underneath the helmet, the astronaut wears a little cap. The helmet, the special shoes, and gloves are all attached to the suit. This way, the astronaut is completely protected. He needs to be protected because in space, it can be terribly cold or awfully hot. And because there is no oxygen in space for humans to breathe. So oxygen is the air that is found in the air that we breathe so that we can go. If there's no oxygen in space, how would you be able to breathe? So you need special equipment so that you have lots of oxygen to breathe to be safe. So the astronaut has a little backpack, right here is a little backpack that has oxygen in it so you can breathe in outer space. On the belly of the suit is a little computer. If something isn't working correctly, a little light on the computer will start to shine. So you know you should go back to your spaceship if something's wrong with your space suit. Like if you're out, floating around in space, you might need to go back to fix something on your suit. Here we go. The astronaut goes into space in a space shuttle, which is a sort of rocket plane. In space, there is no gravity, so everything floats around, even the astronaut. So, friends, gravity is this, it's a real thing. It's an invisible force that is all around us. You can't see gravity, but it's there. It's what holds us down on Earth. It's what holds everything around us on Earth. Like, if there was no gravity, I couldn't sit in this chair. I would be floating, my chair would be floating, my pen would be floating, my paper would be floating. Everything I have around me would just be floating. My desk, everything. My hair would even be floating because there would be no gravity, that invisible force, to hold everything down. So when you're in space, you're actually going to float. It'll be like flying. It might be really fun. In space, there is no gravity, so everything floats around. Even the astronaut. His food and his toothbrush float too. How funny. That's why the astronauts sleep in a sleeping bag that's attached to the wall. See, look at the astronaut in this picture. That looks like a banana. But you have to zip yourself into the sleeping bag so you can be cozy at night because otherwise you'll just be floating around the spaceship. And that doesn't seem very comfy. You probably want to be wrapped up in a blanket and be nice and cozy. So you got to get in your sleeping bag and zip up. And right here, your sleeping bag will be attached to the wall so you can't be floating around. The astronauts use the shuttle to travel to the space station that spins around Earth all the time. Several astronauts live and work in the space station. Everything they need, like their food and water and everything from Earth, is in this space station. That's this right here. Let me move this down a little bit for you. See, that's the space station. So you have to now remember, there's no supermarket out in outer space. So if you need food and water and all that kind of stuff, you got to bring it with you to space. Before the astronaut can go into space, he or she needs to practice long and hard. You need to learn how to float and how to prevent yourself from getting sick when you do like a little somersault or a flip. So it's kind of like being on a roller coaster. You got to teach your belly not to get sick from floating around all the time, because your belly might be like, whoa. So you got to get used to it before you go in space, so you'll be all set. The astronaut exercises a lot and eats a healthy diet. And of course, he or she has to learn how to work with all the equipment in space. They need to learn how to work their spaceship, their space shuttle, and things in the space station. It's hard work. At last, it's time for liftoff. Before he puts on his spacesuit, an astronaut goes to the bathroom because in the space shuttle, there's no regular bathroom. And it's hard work to put on a spacesuit, by the way. There are many layers. So when you're in outer space and you have to go to the bathroom, oh my goodness. So you have to use a special toilet that flushes right away so that like your pee or your poop doesn't float away. Oh, yuck. So you have to use a special toilet that doesn't let that happen, because remember, everything's going to be floating. The astronauts are ready in their space shuttle. They have buckled up tightly. They check to make sure that everything is in order. The engines, the fuel, the computers. If just one thing doesn't work, they won't be able to fly their spaceship. Luckily, the astronauts practiced and know what to do if anything goes wrong. The space shuttle is attached to rocket boosters. Those make sure that the shuttle will go into the air super fast. It's time. The engines start. 3, 2, 1. Blast off! Very soon, the space shuttle is high above the clouds. Wow! First, the astronauts fly through the Earth's atmosphere, and then they actually leave Earth and arrive in outer space. When the rocket boosters are no longer needed to push the shuttle forward up into the air, they fall off. So that way the space shuttle flies to the space station alone. They don't bring like these big, huge rocket boosters right here. The space shuttle heads for the space station that spins around the Earth all the time. When it gets there, the shuttle connects to the other station. There are other astronauts already working there. Look, everything and everyone floats around. Look how cool that is. You could do like flips in the air. Luckily, the astronauts practice how to float around without gravity. That's called zero gravity. It's time to work on the special computers. That way, the astronaut can discover new things about space and about nature. When he finds something interesting, he passes it on to people on Earth, so the people who are working at the space station on Earth. Sometimes the astronaut studies himself. For example, does he get hungrier in outer space? Is he more sleepy? Does he sweat more? Those are all interesting things to know. It's good to check how your body works in outer space. If something needs to be fixed outside of the space station, the astronaut has to go on a spacewalk. He puts on his special suit with the backpack that contains air so he can breathe while he makes the spacewalk. In space, it's cold and quiet, but very beautiful. The astronaut has to be safely connected to the space station. See this rope right here? He needs to keep that on him because otherwise he would just float away. So to be safe, he has to make sure that there's a rope that ties him to the space station. After a while, the astronauts are done with their tests. They leave the space station and go back into the space shuttle. They return to Earth. Because a space shuttle lands so quickly at such a high speed, the astronauts use this, a parachute, to help it slow down and to help it stop. Astronauts who use rockets to help them return to Earth may need as many as 3 parachutes to slow them down, like this one. The top of the rocket lands on water, so it can land really gently. Thanks to astronauts, we now know more about outer space, but there's so much more to discover. Space is so unbelievably big, and there's so much we don't even know yet. There's so much to find out. Maybe you will become an astronaut and adventure among the stars and the planets. Who knows? Maybe you could even walk on the moon or discover a new planet. Oh my gosh. Being an astronaut sounds like hard work, but it sounds like a lot of fun, and it sounds very exciting. So maybe you guys think about that. Maybe that's something you want to do when you grow up. It must be so cool to visit outer space. I hope you guys liked that story and learning about what astronauts do. I'll see you guys later. Bye.